Hello and welcome to the Adventure Toolkit example reel number 7. My name is Glenn Storm, and I'm from Hot Iron Productions. Today, we're looking at tools from the Cinematic folder, starting with the Camera Manager. The Camera Manager tool is designed to cut between multiple cameras in sequence in order to display a cinematic cutscene. Let's look at the properties on the Camera Manager. First is the Managed Camera, and this represents the camera that is on most of the time in your game. It could be the main camera, as we've set here. It could also be the camera that's on your first or third person character controller. But what this means is this is the camera that we want to turn off when we start this cinematic sequence and turn back on once this sequence is done. Okay, so we're managing that camera, and we're doing so by specifying it here. The next property is an array of cinematic cuts, or cine cuts. This is a sequence of cuts that define our cinematic cutscene. In this we have 3 cuts. We're going to cut to camera A that I've set up here, and then cut to camera B, and then back to A. And both of these are turned off on purpose. We don't want cameras to be on unnecessarily. The Camera Manager will turn them on for us in due time. So let's look at the properties of cinematic cuts, or cine cuts. First is cut label, and this is here so we can name these cuts something other than element 0, element 1, etc. Next is cut to cam, and this is the reference of the camera that we're going to cut to. Next is cut duration. This is the length in seconds that the camera will, in this case camera A, will stay on after we cut to it, and it's set to 2 seconds. The last property in our cine cuts is activate on cut. This is available so we can activate another game object when this cut is reached. We actually use that when we cut to camera B, because camera B has a mover that can be activated, and what we want to do is cut to camera B and stay on it for 8 seconds, and also activate our mover for camera B, because what it's going to do is pan down the objects that we used here for the action tools examples. And then we'll cut back to camera A for 2 seconds. After cine cuts, we have a property called use microphone. This is here in case you, as we have created a microphone object in your scene, and you're going to use it to record all the audio, as opposed to the audio listeners that are on cameras. So if you would like your audio to remain smooth and not cut between each camera, then you can click this box with an audio, with a microphone object somewhere in your scene, and that will work fine. If you would rather that the audio pickup come from each camera as you cut, then go ahead and leave this unchecked. Okay, but we do have a microphone object. We'll have it checked. The last property on the Camera Manager is activate on complete, and this will activate another game object at the completion of all the cine cuts. So we can use this Camera Manager as a trigger. Okay, let's go ahead, hit play. Let's activate our Camera Manager. We're going to see it cut to camera A, which is looking over all of the objects. Cut to camera B and activate its mover, so it will pan down those objects. And then cut back to camera A for 2 seconds before ending and going back to our main camera. That's the Camera Manager tool. The next tool we're going to look at is the Camera Shaker. The Camera Shaker tool is designed to shake cameras so that it can look like it is being rattled or rocked or even handheld. It can shake any object, really, but it is designed to shake cameras in particular because camera shakes are really cool effects. and they are things you typically want to do in cool looking games. Let's look at the properties on the camera shaker. First is the target camera. This is the reference of the camera we want to shake. In this case, we're going to reuse our camera manager example and shake camera A. Next is shake delay, and this is the number of seconds from the activation of this tool until the shake begins. Next is shake duration. This is the number of seconds the shake will occur over. It's going to be set to 1 second here. The next two properties, shake attack and shake fall off, describe how gradually the shake will build up, and we've set it to 0 here, so it won't attack abruptly. These values can be from 0 to 1. It will not attack abruptly and shake immediately at full shake. It will start gradually and then be at full shake by the middle of the duration. Shake fall off is sort of the inverse. This is how gradually the shake will fall off. So by setting this attack to 0 and the fall off to 1, what we're describing is a shake that will start slowly, be at full shake in the middle of the duration, and then fall off to a gradual shake towards the end of the duration. The next property to look at is the shake cam position. If you want to explicitly describe a vector that shows what directions the shake will occur, you can set these values to positive or negative numbers so that the shake can occur, say, only in the x-axis, only in the y-axis, or some combination of all three axes. We've left this at 0 because our next property will handle our shake positions for us. It's position variance. And what this describes is how much this shake will vary between the values that we've set here in shake cam position. In other words, we're really not going to vary it much at all. The shake cam position is zeroed out. But the position variance is going to say at any given frame in which the shake is occurring, we're going to vary these positions by 0.1, both in all three axes, in x, y, and z. The next property is shake cam rotation. This is sort of like shake cam position except in rotation, so these are in degrees. And you can specify in all three axes exactly which direction the shake will occur. The next property is rot variance, or rotation variance, and it works the same way as position variance. It's set to a default of 1 because we're talking about degrees, not units. So this will vary the rotation during our shake in any of these axes by as much as 1, plus or minus 1. The next property in our camera shaker is shake frequency, and this describes, as the tooltip says, the number of shake cycles to perform per second. This is set to a default of 0 because our next property will handle that for us. It's the frequency variance. So in other words, you can go ahead and set explicitly how often this shake will cycle per second. And if you set this to something like 0.1, it will shake over the course of 10 seconds. If you set it to 1, it will shake once every second. These are slow shakes, and you can imagine it would be like a slow rocking or some kind of drunk effect on your camera. Frequency variance is going to handle this for us, and this is a default. So it's going to shake plus or minus, or it's going to shake at some variance of 0.1. Okay, next is return on complete, and this will return the target camera to its original position and rotation before the shake occurred, once the shake is done. This is typically what you want to have checked when you're working with a camera that is on a character controller. You don't want your camera shaker to keep bumping your camera off kilter every time you use it. So check this box when it's on things that are important, In this case, we're using it for a cinematic sequence camera, so we don't mind that it's off kilter after the shake. We'll go ahead and leave it off. The last property on our camera shaker is reset on complete, and if this is checked, it will reset this tool by deactivating it once the shake is done and get it ready to reactivate so you can use it over and over. Okay, in order to get this to work, I'm going to go back to our camera manager, go to our Cine Cuts, and I'm going to set this camera shaker to be activated on the first cut. So it's going to activate on camera A because we've set our camera shaker to the target camera, camera A. And so on our first cut, activate on cut will activate the camera shaker. Let's go ahead and start our scene and start our cinematic sequence, and we will see the first cut shake our camera A. That's the camera shaker. The last tool we're going to look at today is the camera zoomer. This tool is designed to affect the field of view or zoom on cameras. So if you want to zoom in during your sequence or zoom out, you can do it with this tool. Some of the properties, well, let's look at all the properties here. This is zoom camera. This is the reference of the camera to zoom, and again we're going to work on camera A. The target field of view, this is the specifically the field of view on our camera that we want to affect. By default it is on 60 for our camera A. We want to zoom in, so we're going to zoom into all those example objects we used for the action tools. We're going to zoom into a field of view of 30. The next property is zoom delay. This is the number of seconds from the activation of this tool until the zoom begins. The next property is zoom duration, and this is the number of seconds that the zoom will occur over. It's going to occur over 2 seconds. If you don't want that to happen linearly, if you want to zoom in rapidly and then slow down or something fancy, you can use the zoom interpolation to specify something in the curve editor. The last property on the camera zoomer is reset on complete, and if this is checked, it will deactivate the camera zoomer and get it ready for reactivation so you could use it over and over. Again, to use this tool, we're going to have our camera manager activate it on cut. So we're going to change our activate on cut reference to the camera zoomer. And we will go ahead, hit play, and activate our camera manager. And we will see on the first cut our camera zoomer zoom camera A in. Okay, that's the camera zoomer. And that's all the time we have for this video. Please stay tuned for the next one.